the moment my dad brought his illegitimate daughter in. My mom didn't cause a scene at all. Instead, she smiled brightly. My dad was terrified, thinking she was upset. He quickly handed me a card and asked me to mediate. Just as I was about to snap the card in half. To support my mom, she unexpectedly pulled out a boy, the son of his deceased first love. You're raising Su Xiao Xiao, and I'm taking care of Gu Xingqian. A fair trade, and no one should meddle. My dad's face turned green right away, greener than the dial of his Patek Philippe. Su Xiao Xiao shrank behind my dad, looking as timid as a drenched cat. Gu Xingqian stood next to my mom, looking quite gentle and polite. He nodded slightly to everyone he met. Two adults are silently battling in the living room. My dad is holding Su Xiao Xiao's hand. My mom has her arm around Gu Xingqian's shoulder. On the left and right, they stand like two boundary markers. In between them is the entire living room. Not a single person has glanced at me the whole time. No one asked me which side I'm on. No one asked how I feel. Not even anyone noticed I'm still at the stairway. I looked down at the card in my hand. I originally wanted to break it. I thought it looked pretty cool. They always portray it like that in dramas, but now I put the card back in my pocket. Breaking it would be such a waste. This card probably has at least 6 figures on it. I went upstairs and closed the door. I sat on the edge of the bed and spaced out for a bit. Uncle Lee, the butler, brought in a cup of hot milk. He hesitated for a moment at the door. Young Master Hao, are you all right? Uncle Lee, I've taken a milk. I smiled at him. It was quite lively. Now we have 2 more people at home. You go ahead and get busy. Uncle Lee opened his mouth, but in the end, he said nothing. He gently closed the door. The milk was quite hot. I held the cup and thought for a long time. I came to a conclusion. This home doesn't need me. They don't really need me in this family, do they? Since no one cares about me. What if I end up at the bottom of the class? But what if one day I suddenly rank at the top? I pull out my phone and scroll to a number. It's a girl I know from my past. In the community, she's known as Lu Yan. Looking at the grades, I'm at the top of the class, with a temper that's even harder than my grades. I heard she writes papers for money. Paid QA crash course before the exam. Everything is priced transparently, no haggling. I edited a message, thought about it, and deleted it. Decided to go see them in person. Some things are meant to be said while looking into each other's eyes. I ran into Lu Ruoyan in the alley behind the affiliated school. Saying I ran into her is not quite accurate. When I arrived, she was leaning against the wall, eating a bun in one hand and a vocabulary book in the other. He chews quickly. His eyes scan even faster. The dusk light hits his face, looking beautiful, right? It truly is. But that kind of beauty carries a chilling sense of distance. Like frost flowers on a winter window. From afar, they seem beautiful. But when you reach out to touch them, they melt into cold water. I walked over with my hands in my pockets, trying to appear a bit more rebellious, like Lu Ruyan. He didn't even lift his eyelids. No off-campus fights. I'm not here to fight. I'm also not here for any off-campus confessions. You're blocking my light. Can you move aside? I shifted to the side. He stuffed the last bite of the bun into his mouth. He wiped his hands with a tissue. He flipped a page in his vocabulary book. He didn't look at me the entire time. I took a deep breath. I heard you're willing to do anything for money. As soon as those words left my mouth, he finally lifted his gaze. His eyes were very dark and bright, like 2 pebbles soaked in cold water. He wasn't angry, and it wasn't even disdain. He simply gave me a calm glance, like he was looking at a question not worth solving, avoiding illegal acts and not doing foolish things. He and the vocabulary book. You took both lines with that sentence. Then he turned and walked away, and so on. I quickly chased after him. Imi spooka. I'm here to ask you for extra classes. He paused for a moment. Extra classes, right? I'm willing to pay you for the extra classes. I'm for number 10 Jinsheng High School. I knew he stopped and looked back at me. Math score 327 in class 2, grade 10 of Jinsheng number 1 High School. Last month's exam, 47 in math, 62 in English. Chinese was okay, barely passing. I was completely stunned. How do you know all this so clearly? I do my background check before taking on a job. He had a blank expression. You had someone reach out to me last month to ask for extra tutoring. I looked into your background. So why didn't you agree? Because your attitude back then didn't seem like you really wanted to learn. I was at a loss for words. He wasn't wrong. Last month, I did just bring it up casually. But now, half jokingly, I've truly made up my mind. I looked at him and wondered if my attitude was sincere enough. He stared at me for about 5 seconds. In those 5 seconds, I felt like I was being scanned by an X-ray. I couldn't hide any of my thoughts. How many places do you want to move up in the top 100? There is still over 6 months until the end of the second year. His tone was completely flat. It was like stating a math formula. With your current foundation, paying 100 is not impossible, but it's quite expensive. He quoted a number. My eyelid twitched. That price is enough to hire 3 graduates from 985 universities as full-time tutors. Why is it so expensive? Because your foundation is too weak. I have to put in 3 times the effort. He spoke with such confidence. If you think it's too expensive, you can leave. I touched the card in my pocket. My dad gave me this card to persuade my mom. But now I've decided to use it for something. That truly relates to me. He nodded. He pulled out a piece of paper from his backpack and handed it to me. A packed schedule down to the minute. Wake up at 6 in the morning. Start memorizing vocabulary at 6:30. Use lunch break to do math exercises. Practice English reading after evening study. Weekend full of extra classes. They even set a 5-minute limit for bathroom breaks. I gasped in shock. Is this extra classes or prison? You could say it's like being in prison. He slung the backpack over his shoulder. The difference is that after your release, you'll thank me. He turned and walked deep into the alley. I watched his figure disappear around the corner. The streetlight just turned on. It shone on him for half a second. In that half second, I saw him lower his head. He carefully counted the deposit I had paid. His lips were pressed tightly together, as if he was confirming that every bill was real. In that moment, he didn't seem like a school bully at all, nor did he resemble any kind of celebrity. He was just an ordinary girl seriously counting money, not allowing herself to make mistakes. On the first day of tutoring, I was 5 minutes late. It wasn't intentional. I really got stuck in traffic. Lu Rian was sitting in that nearly bankrupt milk tea shop at the back of the school, with papers spread out on the table. In front of her was a cup of plain water, because she never ordered milk tea. As I pushed the door open, I was about to explain. He was already packing his things. I was only 5 minutes late. Today's class is canceled. You still lose 5 minutes worth of pay. It says in the contract that if you're late, you forfeit 1 class fee. You signed it. I opened my mouth and realized I had indeed signed it. At the time, I thought it was just a formality. I didn't read the terms carefully. You're just robbing me. You could say it's robbery. He zipped up his bag. He paused for a moment as he walked past me, saying he'd be on time tomorrow. Since the second time, I've never been late again. Once the extra classes got into full swing, I finally understood what true hell is. Getting my phone confiscated for looking at it in class. They only return it after class. Tougher than my mom. Your mom won't take your money. Falling asleep while doing homework. She just opened a bottle of water and poured it all over my workbook. Are you crazy? I wrote for 2 hours and got tired. So you poured water on it? That's the method you suggested on the first day. I'm just helping you carry it out. I was just joking. I'm not joking. Rewrite it. But he's not that stubborn either. Third week of tutoring, math quiz. I scored 79 out of 47, although it still seems terrible to normal people. But for someone like me, who has been hovering around the passing line for years, for those who are merely surviving, it's a leap on the level of smoke rising from the ancestral grave. I went to find him with the paper, showing off so much that my tail was almost pointing to the sky. Teacher Lou, look at 79, 79. He glanced at the score with a blank expression. Take out a box of strawberry cake from the backpack. The supermarket label still has the 30% off sticker on it. He placed the cake on the table. It's not a reward for me. I bought an extra box that I can't finish. I looked at the cake and then at him. Teacher Lou, are you complimenting me? There's something wrong with your ears. I said I bought an extra box. I really bought an extra box. I couldn't stop smiling. I ripped open the packaging and took a big bite. The cream smeared half of my face. It tastes so good. She reluctantly handed me a tissue. I intentionally leaned in closer. Come on, Teacher Lou, help me wipe it off. Without missing a beat, she threw the tissue right on my face. I got up to pack my things. Math review at 6 tomorrow. You know the consequences of being late. Wait, did you just gasp at my face? Does that count as a sneaky way of touching my face? The door slammed shut. Shinzei later heard about this. Summarize your relationship, will you? One is a pain, and the other is a flatterer, a perfect match. During that time, attending classes became the highlight of my day. Not because studying itself was so enjoyable. Lu Rian's teaching style was truly like a trip to hell. But because in that nearly bankrupt milk tea shop, at least one person was seriously watching me solve every problem, for every mistake I've made. Even if his gaze towards me always screams rotten wood, at least he's looking. When I got home, everything was just as usual. Su Xiao carefully served food to my dad at the dinner table. My mom was ladling soup for Gu Xingchen. Both of them pampered each other, putting on a show for one another. I sat in the middle like a transparent wall. No one in the family remembered my birthday. Uncle Lee secretly cooked me a bowl of longevity noodles. Bring it to my room. Happy birthday, young Master Hao. Thanks, Uncle Lee. I took the noodles downstairs to get some water. Halfway down the stairs, I heard my mom instructing the maid, Gu Xingchen, order a 2-layer chocolate cake for his birthday next Tuesday. It's his favorite. Also, redecorate the guest room on the second floor. Gu Qingqian said she wants to change the style. I stood on the stairs with my noodles and listened for a while. Then I turned around and went back to my room to eat the noodles. It was quite tasty. Uncle Lee's skills have always been impressive. One day, I finished my extra class early. On a whim, I followed Lu Ruyin for a while. It's not stalking, okay? Fine, it was stalking. He turned into a mental health clinic. I looked inside through the glass window in the corridor. He was sitting in front of a hospital bed. Lying on the bed was a middle-aged man with gray hair. His gaze was sometimes clear and sometimes vacant. When she was awake, she held Lu Ruyin's hand. Her lips moved as if she was saying something. When he was dazed, he suddenly shook off his hand. He shouted a woman's name, telling him to get lost. Lu Ruyin stood straight from start to finish. Her back was as stiff as a ruler tightly wound. Once outside the ward, he leaned against the wall in the corridor, not crying. There was no expression on his face, but I saw his hand trembling. Very light, very subtle. If it weren't for the street light shining down, I wouldn't have noticed at all. I didn't sneak over. The next day, I arrived 10 minutes early for the makeup class, which was unprecedented for me. I finished all my homework without a single mistake. I even completed 2 extra sets of optional exercises that Lu Ruyin had assigned earlier. She glanced through the homework and paused for a moment. She looked up at me without saying a word. I didn't say anything either. But that day I brought 2 boxes of strawberry cake in my backpack. One for you and one for your family. Don't overthink it. The supermarket has a buy one, get one free deal. He paused for a second as he took the cake. The buy one, get one free deal at the supermarket is only on Tuesdays. Today is Thursday. You should be more precise about supermarket promotions. All right, so what if I bought it? She didn't ask any further. When she put the cake in her backpack, the zipper moved a bit slower than usual. This is probably Lu Ruyin's way. She wouldn't say thank you, at least not now. But when a zipper was slow for that 1 second, I just took it as if he said it. My results for the second-year final exam have come out. Ranked 89 out of 327. 89 more than half a year, 238 rankings. The entire Jin Chung No. 1 high school has exploded. The homeroom teacher was in the office reviewing my achievements. I have looked at the report card 3 times, flipping it back and forth. Suspect the system is malfunctioning. After confirming there was no mistake, he was so excited that he almost stood up, considering his weight of 200 pounds. This is quite a bold move. Number 10, you've finally woken up. It's not awakening. It's being whipped into shape. Chunze was laughing hysterically beside him. But once the news spread between the 2 schools, problems started to arise. The rumors came in quickly. Version 1. Number 10 paid Lu Ruyin to help him cheat. Version 2. Lu Ruyin's tutoring for the rich kid was just a cover. The most toxic version is like this. I heard that Lu Ruyin, her dad is a madman living in a mental hospital. She just uses the money from the 2 family to pay for her dad's treatment. Even the top students have their own tricks. When I heard this, I felt a chill run down my spine. I've never mentioned Lu Ruyin's dad being hospitalized to anyone. I only told one person. Actually, I didn't tell anyone at all. So how did this news leak out? Chunze helped me investigate for 3 days. The source I finally uncovered left me silent for a long time. Gu Xingchen, my mom's treasured adopted son. That gentle young man who nods slightly to everyone he meets. How does he know about Lu Ruyin? Because he accidentally saw the address of the nursing home saved on my phone. And why did he choose to expose this matter? The reason is simple. The better my grades, the more likely my dad will notice me again. Once my dad pays attention to me, Gu Xingchen's favored position in this family has become unstable. He doesn't need to do too much, as long as it's in front of a few gossiping classmates. Casually mentioned, the remaining malice of humanity will automatically be fulfilled. I didn't question him immediately, because the rumors have already reached the belly. What kind of treatment did Lu Ruoyan receive at school? She didn't tell me, but the message he sent that day only had 4 words. Makeup class suspended. I wonder why she hasn't replied. The next day, I skipped class and went to the affiliated school. He was in the hallway outside the classroom. Leaning against the wall, he was reading a book. People passed by in small groups. A few glanced at him with a hint of malice. It wasn't an overt attack, but rather a more disgusting kind of whispering and pointing. They would walk past and look back at him. I walked up to him. He saw me frown for a moment. "What are you doing here for class?" I said to pause. "Your word doesn't count. The contract isn't up yet." He was staring at me. There was a brief moment of softness in his gaze, but it quickly hardened again. "You heard what was said on the 10th, right? You should know." "What should I know?" He stopped talking, so I didn't look at him. I turned around to face those who were still sneaking glances in the hallway. I pulled out my phone and opened the photo album. I flipped through all the screenshots of my monthly exam scores from the past 6 months. Photos of my tutoring notes. Every study plan that Lu Ru Yin made for me. I held them up high so everyone could see. "Let me show you something." My voice wasn't loud, but the hallway is very quiet. Everyone can hear it clearly. "These are my notes. These are my grades. This is the study plan he made for me. It's detailed down to how many minutes I spend in the bathroom each day." I took my phone back and looked around. If anyone thinks this is cheating, feel free to compare notes. If anyone thinks he's just after my money, do you know how much he charged me for extra lessons? I reported a number. Around me, I could hear people gasping in shock over my money. He earns what he deserves. If we're talking about who clings to whom, it's me, number 10, clinging to him. He holds a power while I'm at the bottom of my class. Who's really the one reaching for whom? I can understand that your math skills are lacking, but your logic can't be thrown to the dogs, can it? When no one spoke, I turned back. Facing Lu Ruyin, she stood by the wall. Her expression is still that of a poker face, but her lips are pressed tightly. I've learned to read her subtle expressions. Tight lips indicate she's holding back. It's hard to say what she's holding back. It could be touched, or she might want to hit me. I took a deep breath in front of everyone. I sincerely bowed and gave a deep bow. "Thank you for your efforts during this time, Teacher Lu." Then I straightened up and smiled widely. "I don't want to continue classes tomorrow, because a bunch of idle people are slowing us down. All right, I'll add an extra 20% to the makeup class fee. Consider it compensation for mental distress." It was quiet for about 3 seconds. Lu Ru Yin spoke up, her voice very soft, but steady like a nail. "With a 30% deal, I reached out my hand." He glanced at me and shook my hand. His hand was very cool, fingers slender, but he gripped tightly. That night, I received a message on WeChat. "Thank you, Lu Ru Yin." I stared at those 3 words for a full 10 seconds. Then I took a screenshot and saved it as Lu Yin, a precious record of Wang's gratitude, pointing out that this is a once-in-a-lifetime moment worth passing down. I sent him the screenshot. 3 seconds later, Lu Ru Yin. "Tomorrow's homework will be 3 times as much for me. Isn't it okay if I admit I was wrong?" Lu Ru Yin. I kept my mouth shut 4 times. Time flies, and before you know it, it's already the 2nd semester of senior year. My grades are consistently within the top 30 of my class. It fluctuates up and down, but has never dropped out. Lu Ruoyan said, "This is called the foundation laying completed." I said, "Have you read too many Xinsha novels?" She said, "If you have the effort level of a cultivation protagonist, like 1 out of 10, you can now be the top of your grade." I thought about it and felt that what he said makes sense. But being in the top 30 of the grade is already enough. Enough to let everyone know that number 10 is not a loser. But the 2 people I want to know the most are, my mom praised Gu Xinshin in front of a whole table of relatives at a family gathering. She said, "This child is such a relief. Talented in both academics and arts. He excels in everything. I barely had to manage him. He relies on his own self-discipline." I just sat next to him while she bragged for 15 minutes. In between, she switched her tea 3 times without even looking at me. My dad was a bit better. At least he said one thing. "Yeah, not bad. Keep it up." After finishing, he turned around and taught Su Xiaoxiao how to read financial reports. She has already started to train Su Xiaoxiao as her successor, taking her to business meetings to teach her the ropes. The 17-year-old girl sat among a group of middle-aged men. She was so nervous that she couldn't steady her chopsticks. But my dad thinks this is a valuable experience. Sometimes I look at Su Xiaoxiao and feel quite sorry for her. Once I went downstairs in the middle of the night to get some water. I saw him squatting at my door, leaving a bag of oranges. When he heard me opening the door, he jumped up and ran away. I stumbled a bit as I hurried over the threshold. I looked down at the bag of oranges. They weren't very big. He probably bought them with his own pocket money. I didn't chase after him. I took an orange inside, and it was quite sweet. A month before the college entrance exam, I was looking for something in my study at home. I came across an old document. The document was tucked inside an old photo album of my mom's. If I hadn't accidentally knocked the album over, I would never have discovered it was a birth certificate, along with a few photos of Gu Xingchen. But the name is wrong. The parent section on the birth certificate has two names that I completely don't recognize. The registered address is a small county in another province. On the back of the photo, there's my mom's handwriting. Wu Jie's son, born in '05. Who does he resemble? Like my father's late first love, that white moonlight. I stood in the study, holding that paper, and suddenly felt like laughing. Gu Xingchen is not the son of that white moonlight. He is not by you at all. Passed away at the age of 23 due to illness. Never been married. Never had children. My mom checked very carefully. It is precisely because the investigation is thorough. She can accurately find one. Children of similar age and appearance come to fill in. Actually, my dad's face turned green at that moment. It was not because I believed. That's the biological child of Baiyu Eguang. She knows very well that Baiyu hasn't had any children. What shocked and angered her was that Lin Wanxiu had the audacity to find such a similar stand-in, to openly disgust him. What he wants is not to raise a child, but a knife stabbed into my dad's heart. And the reason my dad allowed Gu Xingchen to stay in the Shi family is because he feels guilty towards Baiyu. He can't say anything too sarcastic to a face that looks so much like a deceased friend. My dad raised an illegitimate daughter to irritate my mom. My mom created a fake white moonlight son to annoy my dad. The two of them are stabbing each other in this marriage. Every stab is precise and hits hard, and their biological son is just sitting there. Not a single glance exchanged. I put the documents back without exposing them. But what would it matter if I did? Let them fight even harder. It's better that Gu Xingchen, that unaware kid, realizes that he's just a pawn. It's meaningless. I close the door to my study and return to my room. I take out the last set of mock exam papers Lu Ruyan gave me. It's 11:40 p.m. the night before the college entrance exam. I send a message to Lu Ruyan. Is Teacher Lu asleep? After a minute, since nothing happened, I can't sleep. I've finished all my revisions. Another minute passed. You said I did well on the exam. Will they take a longer look at me? This time, he was silent for a long time. So long that I thought he had fallen asleep. Then a message popped up. If you did well, you could take a longer look at yourself. It doesn't matter whether others are interested. I stared at this line of text. I stared for a long time. Then I turned off my phone, placed it by the pillow, and before closing my eyes, I thought, Lu Ruyan always has a way with words that sound harsh. But somehow, every word gets to my heart. On the afternoon of the college entrance exam, the scene outside the exam hall was packed. When I came out, Chunze was waiting for me at the door, holding a bottle of Coke. How'd it go? Was it steady? He asked. Chunze let out a jubilant cheer, like a pig being slaughtered, and tossed the Coke into the air. The Coke landed on the ground and exploded, splashing both of us all over. I laughed for a long time. The day the results came out, my score was over 40 points higher than the mock exam. Definitely enough for a 98. Dong Xianli is even more impressive. The top score in the city for liberal arts was a full 11 points above the second place. When the news got back to the two schools, it caused quite a stir. I sent a message in the class group. I introduced everyone to the fact that the city's top scorer is my teacher. I felt embarrassed because he is my tutoring teacher. The homeroom teacher responded from below. It's not easy for student number 10 to get to this point. I hope everyone can learn from him. I looked at him, and it wasn't easy. Suddenly, I felt a bit emotional, but it lasted only a second, because the real joy was at home. My dad was the first to talk to me. The study door was closed. He sat behind the mahogany desk. I sat across from him. The expression on his face was something I'd never seen before. It wasn't stern or indifferent, but how should I put it? Like the kind of friendliness you'd expect from an insurance salesman. It made me feel really uneasy. Howard did well on his exam. He called me by my name. Since I can remember, I've been able to count the times he called me on one hand. I didn't respond. He took a sip of tea and spoke slowly. It's about the shares your grandfather left you back then. You know they've been in trust all this time. Since you're still in school, you can't really use them now. Dad thinks it might be better to transfer the shares to Su Xiaoxiao's name. She'll need them to manage the company in the future. As for you, Dad will give you another sum of money. It won't be a small amount. You can use it freely to do your own thing, which is great. After he said that, he looked at me with a kind smile. I finally understood what made me feel so overwhelmed. What you call that uneasy expression? It's calculating. It turns out that the neglect over the years wasn't entirely favoritism. A part of it was intentional on her part. She made me feel like I didn't belong to this family. Made me think that the Sure group had nothing to do with me. So when he asked for shares today, I would naturally let go and laugh. I got it, Dad. Let me think about it. The second conversation came even quicker. That night, my mom called me to her bedroom. Mom wants to discuss something with you. You met your Uncle Zhang's daughter, right? She's quite pretty. Mom thinks you two are a good match. It's a marriage between families that know each other well. Marriage sounds so harsh. It's just two young people. Mom, let me interrupt. I've heard about the Zhang family situation. What they want is for you to marry into their family. Lin Wanchio's smile froze for a moment. That's not called being a live-in son-in-law. Are you planning to develop over there? Mom, are you preparing to file for divorce from Dad? The Zhang family has resources in the business association. You need their help, so you want to use my marriage as a trade-off. She fell silent. I looked at my mom. This woman was once a distinguished young lady, the kind that stuns the entire street in a Cheongsam. But over the years, I've been clashing with my dad. There's nothing left. Even his own son has become a bargaining chip in his eyes. I stood up and walked to the living room. My dad happened to come out of the study. The two of us stood at opposite ends of the living room. Just like that day when he picked up the illegitimate daughter and the fake white moonlight. We stood in the exact same positions at the door. I'm standing in the middle. Dad's shares are what Grandpa left for me. No one is taking them away. Mom, I'll take charge of my marriage. No one gets to arrange it for me. My dad's face darkened. Mom's lips twitched. Starting today, I refuse to take any living allowance. And don't even think about meddling in my affairs. Then I turned and walked toward the door. It's quiet at the door. No one called me. I opened the door and stepped outside. The streetlight outside is on. The warm yellow light shines on the ground. A small piece of willow sways gently against the lamppost, holding a canvas bag in hand. He glanced at me. Clothes, documents, and a charger. The notebook you left at my place. The guest room at Chunze's place is ready. I was taken aback. How did you know? About your message last night? His voice sounded perfectly normal. People don't usually ask after an exam. Will they glance at me? I just had a feeling. I took the canvas bag. The moment my fingers touched the bag, my nose suddenly felt so sour, but I still smiled. Teacher Liu, are you a fortune teller? You're too easy to read. He turned around and walked ahead. If he keeps dawdling, the food will get cold. I hurried to catch up with him. The streetlights cast long shadows of the two people, almost overlapping each other. I wanted to hold her hand, but I didn't. Now is not the right time. But suddenly, I became very clear about one thing in my heart. Those people I can't impress with my grades. It was never worth getting moved from the start. But the one who truly looks at me and waits for me. The one who even prepared a canvas bag in advance. He never needed me to prove anything. I just needed to keep up with him. 4 years of college. Neither too long nor too short. I got into the business school of Jinhua University. Liu Ruoyan entered Beijing North University as the top student in the city. The two cities are 1,200 kilometers apart, and the high-speed train takes 4.5 hours. We didn't confess our feelings or work out. We have video calls twice a week. It's officially to report on our study progress. Liu Ruoyan always checks my class notes each time. Even in college, she's still checking notes. I suspect she was a disciplined teacher in her past life. Why are your notes so messy for this class? The teacher speaks really fast. If it's fast, why don't you record it and organize it later? How did you study in your senior year? In my senior year, I had you keeping an eye on me. So if you leave me, I won't study anymore. He was taken aback for a moment. Then he changed the subject. The tips of my ears turn a bit red, but the video quality isn't high. I can't be sure. Whenever I go more than 2 days without messaging her, he would send a message asking if I'm still alive. Even the punctuation feels cold and distant. But he's always on time. He's thriving up north in Beijing. He started an online tutoring platform in his sophomore year, inspired by his own experiences. He won't admit it, but I know it's based on his tutoring experience. He turned that precise minute-by-minute training method into a standardized product. It's specifically designed to help underprivileged but talented students, connecting them with quality learning resources. By his junior year, he secured angel funding. By his senior year, the platform reached over 500,000 users. The circle started calling him Mr. Liu. He turned down all resources from the Shijia family. I used the dividends from the shares my grandfather left me. As startup capital, I partnered with my college roommate, Zhao Kai, to invest. At first, it was tough and we lost quite a bit. But slowly we found our rhythm. You've lost money again recently. In the video, Liu Ru Yin is looking at me. With dark circles under her eyes, she asks about my small losses in tuition. If you're short on cash, I can hold off. I laughed. Teacher Liu, back then, I was the one paying you. Now you want to turn the tables and support me. I was talking about investment. Investment. Well, let's talk again when my project is ready. It's up to you then. She ended the video call. 3 minutes later, she transferred me some money. The note said it's not an investment. It's the consulting fee for that industry report you helped me look up last time. Don't back off now, just block me. I looked at the amount. It's exactly the same as what I lost last time. Not a penny more, not a penny less. How did he know exactly how much I lost? That winter my junior year, I received a call from Lu Ruyan. His voice was different from usual, still flat, but the flatness fell off, like a lake's surface covered with a thin layer of ice. Looking at the smooth surface, underneath were all hidden currents. What does it mean that my dad woke up? The new treatment plan is showing results. He recognized me today. He hesitated for a moment. He said sorry. Then there was silence on the other end of the line. I waited for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds. I heard a very faint sob. Lu Ruyan is crying. From the moment I met her until now, it's the first time I've heard her cry. I didn't say anything. I hung up the phone and opened my phone directly. I booked the earliest high-speed train ticket. When I arrived at the hospital at 4 in the morning, it was just getting light. She was sitting on a bench in the hallway. She was wrapped tightly in her coat. Her head leaned against the wall with her eyes closed. There were 2 cups of hot cocoa beside her. One of the cups had already gone cold. It was the one she bought for me. She didn't know what time I would arrive, but she bought 2 cups. I didn't wake her up. I sat down next to her. I picked up the cold cocoa and took a sip. It was cold but quite sweet. I don't know how long it passed. His head leaned over. He rested on my shoulder. He must have been too tired. I didn't move. We just sat there like that, sitting by the corridor window, bathed in sunlight. When I was about to graduate in my senior year, Gu Xingxin found me. He discovered the truth about his identity on his own. Lin Wanshu's photo album. I don't know how he stumbled upon it. Her voice on the phone was chaotic, so different from the warm and polite boy he used to be. I am Soda Shuhao. I've always known that Aunt Lin cares for me, but I didn't realize why. I'm not even considered her adopted child. I'm just a pawn just like you. I've said it all for him, just like Su Xiao, just like me. Every child in that family is like a wife. She was silent for a long time. The rumor in sophomore year was spread by me. I'm sorry, I know you know. What I found out. Why didn't you come to settle the score with you? I leaned back in the chair in my dorm, staring at the ceiling. Because you were dragged into this too. If you had known who you were from the start, you might not have done that kind of thing. But in the end, I did it to you. I didn't brush him off. I still remember the rumors. But I'm not planning to settle the past. He hesitated for a moment on the phone. Thank you. I hung up. It's not about forgiveness or being magnanimous. It's just that I've been out of that house for a long time. There's no need to go back and pick up those broken pieces. The cuts on my hands have healed. The scars are still there, but they don't hurt anymore. 2 years after graduation, my investment company has finally started to turn a profit. Not big, but surviving. And thriving even more. Zhao Kai is in charge of technology. I'm responsible for business and strategy. Chunze occasionally drops by. He says it's an inspection, but really just mooching for a meal. Lu Ruyan's education platform has reached the top of the industry. That year, Forbes created a list of elites under 30. His name ranked 3rd in the education sector. I watched the interview video over and over 7 times. Caught red-handed by Chunze. Can't you be a little more ambitious? Chunze is sitting on the sofa in my office, eating sunflower seeds. If you like her, just say it. It's been how many years since the 2nd year of high school? You're still pretending to be friends while I'm not pretending. Not pretending? You video chat with them twice a week. You remember all of their habits. What temperature milk she drinks. You know her better than your own phone password. You call this friendship? What are you really afraid of? I fell silent for a moment. I'm afraid she might think I'm not good enough for her. Chunze paused his seed snacking and asked what I said. He's a straight A student, a Forbes elite. And me? I was just a bottom-of-the-class loser back then. I only managed to turn things around thanks to his tutoring. My company is just starting out, still at level 10. Chunze rarely looked at me so seriously. Have you lost your mind from all those remedial classes? Do you really think Lu Ruyan is the type to care about grades or money? Not that, but it hasn't come to fruition. Do you have any idea how long he waited for you? You're the only one he would buy hot cocoa for at 4 in the morning. Do you think he buys it for just anyone? I'll stop talking. I'll leave my words here. Chunze stood up and brushed off the sunflower seed shells from his pants. If you don't make a move soon, someone else might steal them away. Just go ahead and cry. After she left, I sat at my desk in a daze for an hour. Then I opened my phone to search for how to choose an engagement ring. Yes, I've decided to propose directly. It's been 56 years. What are we even doing with this ambiguity? It's time to upgrade to a formal confession and the whole dating process. I'm afraid that by the time we're 80, we still won't have a marriage certificate. Daisies, that's the only flower she mentioned in a video. It's a pretty flower, and I've remembered it for 3 years. I chose a simple ring. She doesn't like anything flashy. I arranged to meet her on Saturday. Then on Friday night, Lu Ruyin called first. Come to my office tomorrow. There's something I need to discuss with you in the third-floor conference room. You'll find out when you get here. He hung up, and I thought it might be work-related. His platform is currently in talks for a new round of financing. He had previously asked me for some opinions on business models. Never mind, I have to see him anyway, so I'll just go a day early. On Saturday afternoon, I held that bouquet of daisies, and, with the ring in my pocket, I pushed open the door to the third-floor meeting room. The room was dimly lit, and I froze for a moment. Then the lights came on, and Chun-Zhe was the first to jump out. Next was Shun Yu-Chu, who had talked to Chun-Zhe back in college. They're already living together now. Then I saw Zhao Kai recording with his phone, and I spotted Lu Changfeng, Lu Ruyin's father. He was sitting in a wheelchair, looking much better than the last time I saw him. His gaze was clear, and a caregiver stood beside him. She gave me a slight nod as she saw me. The meeting room was set up, but it wasn't extravagant. No sea of roses or giant balloons. Just a few warm-colored lights and a handwritten banner. The writing on the banner was crooked and messy. I suspect it was written by Lu Ruyin herself, because even though she's good at everything else, she really can't write fancy calligraphy. Then the crowd fell silent, making way for a path. Lu Ruyin walked out from behind. She was wearing a dress. I've known her for so many years. I've hardly ever seen her in a dress. She's always in school uniforms or sportswear, white shirts and jeans. Everything is about efficiency. No time wasted on dressing up. But today, she wore a dress. A light blue one, simple yet beautiful. Later, Shin Yu-Chu told me. Lu Ruoyan wanted this dress. Spent the whole day shopping. Tried more than 20 times. Finally chose this one, because the color is similar to the blue of her school uniform back then. She walked up to me, about half a meter away. I noticed that his fingers were trembling, very light and subtle, just like many years ago when he leaned against the wall in the nursing home. But his gaze was steady. From sophomore year to now, I've taught you for over 8 years. His voice was very flat, like presenting a formula in class. I taught math, English, and literature. I taught you the principles of being a person. I even managed when you went to the bathroom and someone laughed. It seems to be Chun-Zhe. But there's one thing I never taught you. She pulled a ring out of her skirt pocket. It was a very simple design, but I could tell at a glance. It was the kind of style she would choose. Not flashy or showy, but substantial. When you like someone, you don't have to wait for them to speak. She looks up with teary eyes, but not a single tear falls. The voice is steady and calm. Every word is crystal clear. Number 10, would you let me take care of you for a lifetime? The meeting room fell silent for about 2 seconds. Then Chun-Zhe let out a sound, a scream comparable to a pig being slaughtered. Shin Yu-Chu burst into tears, throwing herself into Chun-Ze's arms. Zhao Kai's hand holding the phone was trembling, but he still diligently kept recording. Lu Changfeng clapped his hands vigorously in his wheelchair, his eyes red. And I stood there. The daisy in my hand fell to the ground. I bent down to pick it up and stuffed it into his embrace. Then I took out the ring from my pocket, the one I had prepared for a whole 3 weeks. Lu Ruyin looked down at the ring in my hand, then at the ring in her own hand, and she was stunned. Teacher Lu, isn't this a coincidence? I probably look pretty ugly when I smile, because my nose is so sore. My eyes are burning as well. I've also prepared an answer. Kneeling on one knee, I can solve this problem. The answer is I do. She looked at me, and then he smiled. In my life, I've seen Lu Ruyin smile only a few times. I can count them on both hands. He doesn't smile much. When he does smile, it's always very subtle and restrained. What does a loud laugh reveal? But this time he laughed without holding back. His eyes were crinkling up. A single tear finally fell. She quickly wiped it away with the back of her hand. Why do you always try to take everything from me? She said, I'm not trying to take anything from you. I stood up and put the ring on her finger. She also put a ring on me. This is what we call a mutual commitment. You get it? Stop joking around. You were the one who proposed first. You're even more anxious than I am. Shut up, all right, just shut up. Chun-Zhe shouted from behind. Are you two actually a couple? Everyone's been waiting forever. Lu Ruyin turned around and shot him a cold glance. Chun-Zhe immediately shrank back behind Shin Yu-Chu. Then he turned back and walked away. His tone was just like it was that year under the streetlight. The restaurant we booked outside is taking too long. The food will get cold. As I followed him out of the conference room, I passed by Lu Chongfeng's wheelchair. He gave my hand a light squeeze without saying anything, but his grip was tight, and I held on in return. The corridor was long. Lu Rian walked ahead, clutching a slightly crushed bouquet of daisies. Her pace was quicker than usual. I caught up from behind and grabbed her hand. This time, he didn't pull away. His palm felt warm. The day my dad brought his illegitimate daughter home, no one ever asked me a thing. It was only later that I understood. Those who aren't favored must learn to find their own way. The road is long, but thankfully I found someone. He's fiercer than anyone. He's stricter than anyone. He's the least likely to go easy on me. But his affection is something I never have to wait for.